listening to the AfterBuzz TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your number one source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith Johnson.
From the AfterBuzz Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AfterBuzz TV's Game of Thrones After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AfterBuzz TV's Game of Thrones After Show.
Happy Father's Day! And you thought only episode 9s could be epic in Game of Thrones.
No.
You thought wrong. I don't know who I'm talking to, just general people. But joining me tonight, not general people, Kyle Maddock.
Hey guys, happy to be here on this Father's Day.
Yes, yeah.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
And the lovely Kristen Snyder.
Thanks, Dave. Hi, guys. Whoa.
Just whoa.
Just whoa.
And watching twice in one night, Sara Stretton.
I mean, I just had to celebrate. How to celebrate the Game of Thrones Day versus, good Father's Day too, I guess.
Yeah, Father's Day.
Sorry.
Game of Thrones. And guys, I'm Dave Klein. So let's go ahead and jump right into the episode because this was a happening episode. It was an hour and 15 minutes long. So extra long, extra dose of Game of Thrones because there's so much happening.
I feel like we should do that always.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that. I'd be okay
I feel
with that.
like that's a hard path to go down though, because like once you do the hour and 15, then it becomes the hour and 20, and then all of a
That
sudden
is essentially like I'm watching a movie every week.
What's the problem?
Which I pretty much
it's still.
did.
What's the problem?
This show is a movie on television.
Oh,
every
It
week.
really, it really is.
I just hate how we have to wait a year, literally, pretty much, for 10 episodes.
Yeah.
Not quite.
Almost.
But at least they're really good episodes.
That's
Worth
true.
it.
Like 10 individual movies.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing how long it really adds up to when you really think about it. But let's go ahead and start with basically where we left off last week. And by basically, I mean exactly where we left off. At the wall, with Jon leaving to treat with Mance Rayder. And the wildlings immediately surround him. And we got the shaky camera style action as they do this moment.
Yeah, and he just walks straight up to Mance's tent within a grand total of 30 seconds.
Yeah, it was pretty quick.
It was, that was difficult. I really believed it. Great.
They weren't that far away. Come on.
I mean, they should have at least,
Given
checked
him
him.
some
Gave him the pat down.
obstacle.
Give
Like,
him
it
an
was just-
obstacle.
Yeah, he just literally walked up and was like, I'm here, let's talk.
And they put a
Great.
knife inches from his hand.
Well, that's why he went out without any weapons or with Ghost or
Yeah.
any other men, so he would be non-threatening, so they would let him walk up.
Yeah, because it's like treating. You're treating with someone.
Yeah.
That
Like, very
jacket's
normal
pretty threatening, though.
The black cloak.
Yeah. There's
Yeah.
could be 2 other men under there.
Yeah.
They just pop out. Just like, surprise! 3 men against an army.
Perfect.
Yeah, nothing. Nothing. So yeah, he goes to treat with Mance, and he immediately tells Mance the truth for the first time about Corran Halfhand and how he was following Corran's orders. And actually, as Mance keeps on quipping, he's like, okay, Mance has been honest the whole time, and Jon keeps on lying constantly.
Yep.
But Mance realizes a lot. But before that, they kind of had this moment of honoring each other's dead because they have Ygritte in common, and then they both lost great warriors. Gren,
The mighty Mag.
the mighty Mag, the giant king.
He was the king of the giants, apparently.
But also, I felt like the questions that he gave him about Ygritte were very insightful. And although Jon's lied to him a lot, I felt that the questions he was asking him about his vows, about everything else, they were very specific. It wasn't just small talk. It was trying to see his character, see if he loved her, see what he respected, and just when he asked if he had killed her, things like that.
Yeah.
And he said no. I felt like all of those were very wise, and to me it was he is the brains of this operation, and for good reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I feel like everything he was asking just proved that he was loyal at the end of the day to his vows, to his woman, or to whoever he pledged allegiance to. It's he was putting it out there that you could trust his word.
Yeah.
It was nice to see Jon. It was nice to see Jon finally just sort of drop the veil with the wildlings and be like, "All right, look, respect here. Let's just talk openly. Let's do this.
All right, respect.
But well, he did. He didn't bullshit,
Yeah.
and it was nice to see. He just sort of looked at Mance and he was like, you know what? I was honest, but I just wasn't honest to you.
Yeah.
And there was no sugarcoating it. It was very nice. It was very upfront, and I like that. John's growing up a lot.
Yeah, he was upfront about everything other than the fact that he had come to murder him.
And also claiming they had a lot more men and heroes, with Mance is like, no, actually, I know exactly how much you have, and I have 500 men climbing the wall somewhere else.
Yeah, that was a nice little surprise by Mance. He was like, you know what? We threw everything we had, or we put what we had at you, and you threw everything you had at us. And he's like, now I know your defenses, and I've already sent 400 men to go climb the wall. They're going to be attacking the south side tomorrow.
So good luck.
It was also, among a lot of surprises for book readers in this episode, this was another good surprise to me, because I don't think he had that tactic planned out. They kind of just attacked the wall a lot longer to a lot more failure.
Yeah, I don't recall exactly if he did or not, but
yeah, I just
nice
remember
to see
it
him
lasted
do it.
longer of them just keeping on that siege attack at the wall specifically. So
Do you
it
guys
lasted a lot longer than one day.
do you guys think that Mance would actually keep his word if Jon went back and they lifted the gates and let the wildlings go through? Do you think he would have not killed any more of his men?
Well, like, that was the interesting part for me, was that when he did make that arrangement of peace, it was very kind of specifically seemed to be targeted for Castle Black. No one would die. But the whole point of Castle Black standing up is to save the rest of the people.
Right.
So I felt that undertone, like, propelled, although Jon was obviously thinking, it still made his task important, because there was still, it wasn't about the people at Castle Black. It was about everyone else.
Although Mance made his cause sound really noble with the whole fact that, hey, we're all just trying to get the hell away from those White Walker things you might have seen.
We're trying to hide.
We're just trying to get away and be safe. And that's the way that he made it sound in this entreaty.
Indeed. And it seemed a bit ridiculous to me, because if there's anything we learned from Daenerys in another storyline, is when you have a lot of soldiers and troops or whatnot, or dragons in her case, you can't always control them. I mean, he's got 100,000 men, and for him to say no one else will die, it's a little ridiculous.
Right.
Yeah.
Jason Osborne on the chat saying, I'm thinking that Mance might have set the love affair up. He seems to ask that question about vows pointedly. I don't think you can really set up love. I like to think you can't.
Well, we have Mance has been established as being a Night's Watch Ranger in the show, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah. So I think he knows what John's going on. He knows the vows and everything.
Yeah, and like he saw them together and how they were. Mm-hmm. So, and then probably that's really a lot of what's going to change a man at the Night's Watch is that really important piece you can't have that Jon had with the grit, and I'm sure Mance saw that.
Although, according to Sam, what is the
Exactly.
rules? Like, it's marriage is what they're not
No
allowed to
marriage,
do.
no
Yeah.
children. You can't father children.
Okay.
Jon broke no vows.
You can have
Exactly.
He did not do either of these things.
exactly. You can have a fun night in a cave with a redhead. I mean, it's
As long as she
fine.
dies before she has a child.
Oh my god.
Then
You
it's
should
fine.
not say things like that.
Whoa. Well, yeah. man.
Hey, it happened in the show. I'm just pointing out things that
And
happened.
Are you saying
moving
Ygritte was
on.
pregnant?
Who knows? We don't know.
Oh, theories.
No, I'm gonna go with no.
Spoilers.
She was
spoilers.
not.
She was. Yeah.
No.
Her baby actually becomes a White Walker.
I was scared she was gonna become a White Walker.
Yeah.
Like, has he like turned away and like refused to look back? I just thought that we were gonna see like this.
I mean, he kind of dropped the fire far away the last part of the torch, so who knows? He might run into her later.
That would be funny. Flashback, White Walker.
White Walker, red hair.
But before this moment happens, we have Mance Rayder realizing what Jon's really there for, which was just to straight up murder him.
Yeah.
And as he realizes that, the horns start blowing and there's an attack coming from somebody, and it couldn't be Jon and the wall because they don't have troops, and what's going on? And turns out this is where Stannis Baratheon has been the whole time. He's been traveling north.
Dun, dun, dun. It took him a whole season. I think it was the season 3 finale when Davos went to him with the letter from Castle Black saying about the wildlings and the whites and everything. And so we've had an entire season of them getting to the wall. Thankfully, they're finally
there.
here.
Were you, Kristen? I mean, these guys obviously probably. Did you know it was Stannis right away?
No, I didn't. Did you know?
I was like, it has to be Stannis, but like they were being so unclear. Like I couldn't make out the banners.
Yeah, they were
like,
being really unclear with the banners.
There was like fog, and I was literally like moving at the screen. I was like, fog, move. I can't see anything because I thought it was Stannis, but they still keep you on your toes so much that I didn't know for sure. Like I didn't know who else it could be, but I wasn't ever positive until, of course, they all like get off the horse at the exact same time.
Yeah, that's a pretty noble moment there. As Davos and Stannis are both swooping off their horse all at once. Like, we won this and obliterated you guys.
I'm just
Bow
glad.
down.
I'm glad Stannis is finally there because his storyline never really interested me as much as the other ones. So I'm glad that now it seems like he's going to get into the action next season because I didn't think it was him. I was thinking it was some other wildling troop that decided they were going to go off on their own. I don't know. But I was just not even thinking it was Stannis because I just find that whole storyline uninteresting.
Maybe you just think Stannis is kind of boring.
Yeah.
Just, like him.
Wow.
Like
Him as a character is kind of boring.
yeah.
The way
He
they
is not
write
the life
him.
of the party.
No.
I think we can all agree about that.
Yeah, it's
Stannis.
like they need to develop his character a little bit more if you want me to care about him.
Well, I don't know if it's more. I don't know if it's necessarily need to develop his character more, but he's just not. He's not that engaging. He's not a charismatic individual, and I think that's his problem. And
Right.
And that's also
nobody
the
wants
point,
him as king.
kind of him.
Yes, exactly.
So I think that you do have to kind of keep that up because if he was charismatic, if you did learn to like love him, then you would really want him to.
But
rule.
I don't love him
'Cause-
or hate him.
But I think that's actually the perfect thing for his
Yeah.
character because that's what's supposed to be.
because he
too.
is the rightful king.
He literally is the rightful king. It's just nobody cares. They're just like,
Yeah.
we'll leave him. We don't want it necessarily. They're not trying to kill him. They're just like, just leave him, whatever.
Yeah,
like nobody cares about him.
Nobody wants him as
in
their
the-
king.
Yeah, in the story, and then in Kristen's
And
life.
in real life,
Did you
You
guys?
are the public. You are the public opinion.
That's very true.
I agree.
Did you guys think this battle was a little ridiculous? Where were the giants?
Most
Yeah.
of the giants are dead.
Two of them died.
I don't know. They said something about the king. What was his name again?
Mag the Mighty.
Mag the Mighty being the last of the bloodline.
Or the
So,
biggest.
so did
or
they all
something like
scatter after the king died? I felt like there should have been, like, you had the Stannis' cavalry showing up. All right, they can tear through a lot of wildlings, but they're going to run into a giant riding a mammoth.
that. Yeah, I mean,
And where?
The only other giant I saw was when like Jon Snow was like walking out and there was like 3 crows like pecking on one.
Oh, the one they shot with a giant crossbow
Yeah.
last
Yeah, and I was
season.
like, 3 crows. Do I need to remember this? Or
I think Mance had already told everyone to stand down at that point, and he was finding a way through the wall without, fighting anymore. So I felt like he kind of called back the giants, or
You guys
he
take a
wasn't
break,
ready for war. Yeah.
Yeah.
go off somewhere. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, there's no way he would have expected an attack.
Yeah.
He was just
Right.
expecting defense. So, yeah, things don't work out too well for Mance. He's asked to bow down, but wildlings don't bow down.
We don't kneel.
Yeah, they don't kneel. And Jon actually sticks up for Mance in this moment when he talks. He straight up confronts Stannis, tells Stannis who he is, and Stannis immediately respects him because of Ned Stark and the bloodline. He very clearly has a certain respect for bloodline and heirs and all that, as that's what he's fighting for.
Yep.
and even more than that, also the fact that he knows he is the one true king because of Ned. There's that allegiance. The allegiance that he was the only one noble enough at King's Landing to tell him. Like
Right.
about
About
Yeah.
Jamie.
Right.
And
So there's
Cersei.
also kind of, in a way, that allegiance and that debt, that they had a relationship that was beyond just Ned's reputation to be a stand-up guy. Like, they did have communication that led to him going on this giant mission.
So Andrew SF on the chat saying Stannis has pretty much been a taking care of business fellow, not really charismatic.
No.
Yeah, that's just really, that's all he is, just down to business. Let's just get things done. But yeah, so then Jon stands up for Mance in this moment, or Mance in this moment.
It was kind of nice because Stannis asked him, he was like, what would your father do? And you can see that moment, and I think we all had that moment. It was like, well, he'd cut his head off. But Jon was like, I don't want that to happen because this guy
Yeah.
didn't kill me either time that I've approached him. And so it was nice to see him just kind of come up with a plan right on the spot. And it
Yeah,
was a
I
pretty
agree.
honest remark in a way.
Yeah, and I'm glad that he spared Mance Rayder's life because I feel like we're not done with his character. We didn't get to see a whole lot of him, and he really intrigues me. There's a reason he left the Wall. There's a reason he's leading the wildlings, and I want to know all these reasons. Like John said, you should take him captive and let him talk or hear what he has to say.
Yeah, absolutely. So after this actually, basically, this ended up saving Jon Snow's life, essentially, when you think about it. So Jon is back, and as Maester Aemon is proceeding over all the dead brothers, and now, as they have discovered, you need to burn the bodies so they don't
In the
become
most
whites.
boring funeral speech ever. Please add that in.
That's what they do.
Oh my god.
Well, was it as boring as Maester Pycelle before
Oh my
the
gosh.
fight with the Viper in the
It
mountain?
seemed similar. Yeah.
They would be
yeah, that's
great
what Maesters
friends.
do.
They were probably childhood friends. I could see it.
Oh no! Did you guys see Alistair Thorne on that funeral pyre?
Was that Alistair Thorne? I was trying to figure out who that was that they lingered on.
Well, they
for that
put it
moment.
on Gren for a while. I
Right.
didn't see Alistair Thorne. Did anybody?
I think
I
he's
wasn't looking.
fine.
I was concentrated more on
Okay.
Gren.
Because we saw him take the wound from Tormund last week,
Yeah.
but then he got dragged off into a back room.
Yeah, we just haven't seen him at all.
and we haven't seen him. I'm curious about him.
I feel like we would have seen.
If he died,
Yeah.
Yeah.
definitely would have gotten the spotlight on that one.
Yeah.
We see Janice Slint standing around just watching, and we see Miss Sandy, or not Miss Sandy.
No,
I'm
Miss
sorry.
Sandy. I wish.
Miss Sandy's just there. All of a sudden,
We see Shireen and Selyse.
Melisandre.
Oh,
thank
and
you.
Melisandre.
In
yeah.
the
Sorry,
fire.
guys.
In the fire, looking at John.
Yeah, looking at John, just staring at him.
I was like, are we seeing her face in the fire? Is she at an angle behind the fire? What's
It just
happening?
seemed like they were on opposite sets of this giant fire, and I think there's so much more of that because she has this, draw to people with like king's blood and or what she sees in the fire about the destiny, about fate, about what's going to happen. And I think John, like how she said, what Davos has a really big part in this. I think she's seeing that John will too, and I'm like so curious because personally, I have a theory that this is dealing with John's blood because. We obviously have had this whole debate about his mother and about Ned. And I'm like, well, there's some noble, maybe some royal in there or something. Mm-hmm. So I was like, he could have king's blood too.
Well,
Who knows?
Ned's blood is noble blood at the very least.
Yeah.
So yeah, but Melisandre just staring at him, and John likes those redheads. So
Yeah.
Stay away,
Yeah.
John.
And we also got the other, who was it that said it? Was it Tormund Giantsbane who said the
Tormund
line?
Giantsbane was talking about Ygritte.
And he said, but he also said he was like, how John will never be a kneeler again.
yeah, he
And
does
I
say
think
that.
that points to like that he like we've talked about him maybe if being elected the new commander of the Night's Watch, and now we have this red woman like looking at him. I see great things in the fire of his
I just
future.
don't want him to stay at the Wall anymore. Like, I feel like
Where would he go?
anywhere.
North?
Anywhere.
Are we talking about John?
Yes, John. I just don't want him at the Wall anymore.
I feel
But
like
he has
I feel like that's
took an
where
oath.
everyone's going. It's everyone's going to the Wall or going east.
I feel like,
Like
he'll
this
go.
was the departure of King's Landing, in my opinion.
Yeah, a lot of
Like-
people took off.
Yeah. It's the recentering of focus. Like we've seen, it's going back to the line of this war of 5 or 7 kings, whatever the line was, is nothing. The real war lies to the north. And we're going to have to see all these things. I think it's totally a spread out because all we have left there, I mean, I guess, I'm jumping ahead. I'm
Getting carried away.
I'm like, but this doesn't make sense.
I don't know. I hope that John goes with Stannis or something. I just don't want him at the Wall anymore.
Well,
But he took an oath.
Yeah, we all did, right?
But John, I mean, it was John we're talking about here.
Yeah, he's broken an oath before. I feel like
I don't remember
feel
taking
like,
any oaths.
I feel I feel like the AfterBuzz oath. Look
We
that
the
one up.
watchers of the buzz.
I just feel like maybe Stannis will ask him to come with him or whatever, and obviously he's the king, so whatever he says goes. I just don't want John there anymore.
Well, regardless at this point, I mean, we get Tormund saying that he doesn't suspect John will ever be a kneeler again, and telling John straight up that Ygritte was in love with him.
Yeah.
Because she talked about killing him every day. So a true sign of love. And
We had another interesting thing with Tormund where he asked, am I going to die? And whose decision is it?
yeah.
And John's like, Stannis, I guess? It's kind of
like,
a little moment
"Wow."
of confusion. where
Yeah,
it's
that's
like,
the moment where it seems like John just doesn't care. Because,
Yeah.
well, it's also John says, I don't have a king.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's that moment.
It's also, I think it calls the fact that you're getting these young people in power Like you have like Daenerys, who she's making all these big decisions, and she's looked at like as a conquering hero, just kind of like how Jon is, and then they get kind of stumped at certain points. Like no one's really taught them how to lead. They've just taken command and they've like been working their ways up, but they don't have like the knowledge of how to deal with people on every level.
Yeah.
Like he can make someone a prisoner, but he doesn't know how to deal with a prisoner.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think
that's
he doesn't care either.
I mean, it's kind of a learn by doing thing. You're just sort of thrown into it, especially him. But after this, you do see him with the grit burning her alone. So he does have that moments of just trying to get that out in his own way.
I thought
he might take her back to the cave. That was her last
quite
dying.
far away.
That was her last dying wish. Not saying anything would happen there.
Yeah,
Don't
I
look
was
at
just
me
like,
like
Kristen,
that.
where are you going with this? This is getting really uncomfortable.
She said she wanted to stay there forever. That's
Okay.
where I would have taken her.
kind
Is
of
that
far.
fair?
Yeah. that's a
And
little
she
far.
would probably become a White Walker by then.
Just saying.
Just saying.
Just saying.
It would have been nice.
It's her dying wish. It's mine too.
Yeah, oh, it's really? Okay, all right. So now we know.
Take it.
Find a
God
cave.
forbid anything happens to Kristen.
Give me to Jon Snow and he'll
And
take
have her go to a cave.
You go to a cave.
Yeah, just she just wants to be in a cave. Okay,
Right.
so elsewhere north of the wall, we have Bran's
Closer
storyline.
to the cave.
Yeah, closer to a cave. Speaking of caves, Bran, Hodor, Jojen, and Mira all heading towards the tree as they see it. As Jojen is tired, he's collapsing, and with the
Thank
beautiful
you.
sunrise. I believe that was a sunrise.
It was like a sun peeking.
Yeah. It
was a beautiful
It was like
green
the
screen.
clouds were like parted
It was a
and then
beautiful
they were
green
closing
screen.
in on the sun.
Yeah.
Yeah, good thing they came there at the perfect time of day to
It
see
was.
that sight.
It was.
Yeah.
It was magical.
It was
Very
the vision.
magical. It was magical until skeletons popped out of the ground.
Rumpelstiltskin skeletons.
It started killing everything and slicing them up.
So,
I
now
knew it
there's
was going to be
skeletons.
protected. I knew it was going to be protected.
so these weren't whites or White Walkers. These were.
I have no
these were
idea what these
skeletons.
things are.
These are people who were frozen in the lake underneath.
But had they?
I don't know
Okay.
what they are.
This
I don't
is
know what
skeletons from
Simmons
He-Man,
talking about.
Masters of the Universe. Obviously.
They are some sort of skeletons that don't die, but I guess die with fire as well.
Yeah.
Fireballs.
Yeah, so we get
that you can
tons,
chuck
a lot more magic.
and with really good aim.
It was very
very precise.
Like the stereotypical fantasy came on this one,
Yeah.
where a character was throwing fireballs.
Yeah.
and they like exploded just in time and like always
Well,
hit their target.
It looked like more so than necessarily a fireball was some sort of package, and then when it hit the ground, that was when it blew up.
Excuse me.
It was fireballs.
We're calling them fireballs.
But I mean,
Get over it.
there's something where it was some sort of concoction maybe that they put together. But still, this is a very
Gotcha.
magic coming into the show.
Gotcha, Dave. Exploding packages. Got it.
I was excited. I was honestly excited to see the children, even though we only saw one child. The child with the magic fireballs or exploding packages, whichever you prefer.
And the force field.
Those two things just don't
And the
really go hand in
invisible
hand.
force field.
Yes,
Let's
the
not
invisible
forget the
force field was awesome too. I just was excited to see more magic because I used to not like fantasy shows and stuff like that, but this show being grounded, in reality, it's a lot more believable, and you want to believe it, and you want there to be magic, and you want there to be exploding
Thank you.
fireballs. But now I love fantasy thanks to Game of Thrones. And I was excited for the fire. I mean, what did you guys think? Was this something in the book? Did you know it was coming? How did you feel about it, Sarah?
Well, I don't. Obviously, I'm not caught up on books because I watched the show first. And I mean, I liked the fireballs in the creepy child voice, and I even liked the guy who is the guy slash three-eyed raven slash 1,000 eyes slash one. Who knows? But I was thoroughly creeped out. I was not excited at all. I was so confused why there was one child and the children, and they're in a forest of bones under the tree, and I don't like it. It's creepy, it's weird, and I would not want to be there or take his advice. He's scary. He's not.
Do you think
friendly.
maybe those were the bones of the first men?
I think it's the bones of the children that they're cannibally eating.
I thought they were the roots of the tree.
Now, Bran was definitely crawling through some bones. Yeah, I don't know. Bran's story is easily the most stereotypical fantasy-esque. There's just so much magic in it, and it it's weird how it blends with the rest of the show. Like, you're in King's Landing and you have Cersei dealing with all this stuff, and then you all of a sudden go to the north and you're with Bran and there's fireballs and different things.
And whites and White
everything
Walkers.
is magic.
Yeah.
And now that we've got the Red Woman there, it's every magical element possible is up there.
Getting in the north of the wall.
There's no dragon up there yet.
Okay, true.
That we know
true.
of.
Oh, true.
But dragons are
Those
real.
are just animals.
Bran might fly.
They're real life. Yeah, so
So
on the
ladies,
chat, we have Andrew SF saying Sinbad skeletons, and my thought as I was watching was Jason and the Argonauts.
I was Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
I was with you.
Yeah, that's what I was doing.
Pirates.
There we go.
There you go.
I knew it. I knew they were coming.
You prepped, you prepared.
Pirates are coming. Did you? Who's this three-eyed raven guy?
The one who I'm going to want to call the wizard.
Gandalf.
The wizard in the tree who's like intertwined.
What I
Yeah.
didn't like was he was the stereotypical long white beard, long white hair wizard type. Like,
was, like,
really?
quite-
You just
He's
wanted it to be Oberyn
scary.
Martell brought back and look like Oberyn, right?
That would have been fine.
Okay.
It was
Just so
Gendry.
we're clear.
But I just didn't like that he looked like the stereotypical wizard. Like, that bothered me. Like, can we change it up?
No.
It's like
not
every
possible.
Who do
fantasy
you-
ever
No, we
depicts a
can't.
wizard as the same.
It's
mean,
because
he's not
wisdom
technically
brings.
a
They
wizard.
do.
It's because to be wise, you have to be old, and then you clearly decide to grow a beard because that's part of being wise, so you can stroke it as you're thinking.
I was like, if I was a very old wizard man, I would totally have a white beard. So it's justifiable.
I guess
have
they
to do
all
it.
like
It's like a
agree
trend.
to these terms, but I was just kind of disappointed in the way he looked because we've been traveling for a very long time to get there, and I
What
wanted.
did you want him to look like?
I mean, like he could have been a man behind a red curtain. That would have been better.
Wizard of Oz style. So, guest 80 saying no longer interested in this storyline. It can be left out and not matter. I was actually kind of expecting people to be more interested now that they actually found what they've been searching for.
I'm interested
Yeah.
more because
there's
I'm like,
skeletons.
how many, like, who is this guy? What can he actually do? How old are they? Like, there's so many questions about what religion's like right in this world. We've got the old gods, we've got the new, we've got weird trees everywhere. Now this guy seems to be connected to one in a field of bones. I want to know like who he's killing and what he's watching. And
Yeah, because he's kind of said he had eyes everywhere, and he's been watching all of them since they were young. So it's kind of like, you know, from a bird's eye view or a god's point of view. So it's like if he does have these eyes everywhere, who is he exactly? I don't know. I was more excited by this, that we finally got there, and I liked seeing the child, and I liked seeing this tree. It was so magical. I was glad that they finally got there by the end of the season. And I'm excited for next season.
I know we need them. Like, I just know we're going to need them. Like,
He seemed like he was
It's
connected to the tree. Can we talk about that? He seemed like he really was one with the tree. Like, I didn't see his legs. Like, Bran doesn't have legs. It seemed like he was just the tree.
I just
did.
saw it wrapped around
It
his
did.
hands.
I saw his hands, but for legs, like, I felt like he was just grounded in that tree. He wasn't moving.
So had he been there like a long time? Kind of like
I think
grown
we've established
into the
he's
tree?
old.
He's old, but
I think one day he
how
was...
long has he been
Well,
there since he was
obviously
young?
can't move, right?
This is probably what happened. He probably hugged one too many trees, and it hugged back.
So he was a hippie, is what you're saying. Jason Osborne, or no, Get Down Doe, sorry. Get Down Doe in the chat saying the three-eyed raven is old as heck, though, to be fair. I felt bad for Bran because Bran was like, so will I be able to walk again? And he goes, no. You'll be able to fly. Pfft,
Oh my
who
god.
wants that?
But I was
my
like kind
legs
of glad
back.
because I was like, that's your question. After all this wait
No,
you
yeah,
give for questions like
Yeah, it's
I
like
can walk.
Jojen died to bring you what you're missing. He's like, oh, so Jojen died for me to have legs again.
No, what
Worth
he had
it.
lost. He died so he could find what he had lost.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah.
And so it's like, when was he able to fly? In what life?
Yeah, that's a good
Wait,
point. That's a
he's-
really good point. It was what he lost. That was
yeah,
the
that
what he
was,
said.
that was the words.
But yeah, so Jojen, though, it's important to say Jojen dies in this
Jojen
episode.
died.
So Jojen's died, and it's indicated to us that, I mean, Jojen has green dreams, and he's able to see future prophecies, and that's his gift. So it's indicated that he knew all along that this was going to happen.
He
I
knew
just
he,
didn't care that much.
he knew he was gonna die because when he was locked up at Craster's place, he saw his hand on fire.
Yeah.
So he knew he was gonna die by
He was
exploding
really
package.
slowing them down. And I kind of felt like they knew where they were going. And I was kind of like,
Well,
But now
he
they
needed
made
them
it.
to.
They just made it. They
Yeah.
just made it.
But now that they found it, his purpose has been fulfilled.
What is Mirror's magical power? Does she have anything?
she doesn't
No,
have one.
she's just a good
she's
hunter.
Just like, yeah.
She's a good fighter.
She
and
was-
she's-
she was.
Debatably good at skinning rabbits.
Yeah, and she can hunt. She's good at hunting. She's skill with she can hide really well. She can pop out and sneak around to people. So it's she's more
kind of like a wildling,
right?
But of noble birth from south of the wall.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's my opinion of her.
She's a ninja.
But another thing, we have Bran harnessing his skill of taking over Hodor's body here. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty brutal watching Jojen get stabbed over and over again by the skeleton.
Man.
Just over and over again. That was a relentless hand.
Hodor was getting hit in the face with a hammer.
Yeah.
It was very like eeky, like eeky.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was a horror movie.
That's what bothered me. Was that it was like a horror movie stabbing. It wasn't from anything human or alive.
That was a psychopath.
I'm just so curious about those skeletons. Were they whites that just lost all their skin and eyeballs and fleshy parts, or are they just a weird new type of undead?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. That whole thing was a big question mark.
Yeah, and I know there's some people on the
circle it. Put some red dots.
I think they're protecting the tree and anyone who comes at it. I think that the three-eyed raven actually knows their existence and maybe put them there.
I was gonna say I think that in a way the three-eyed raven man and his child lady are stuck there. I feel like if they ever really they can't leave, or else they would have found Bran like that. There's a reason he had to come to them, and I think that they're being watched, and they need to find kind of a hero who can go back out into the world for their side of the battle.
Yeah.
So on the chat, we have some people talking about some really major differences happening throughout this episode from the books, and I don't want to say anything for potential spoilers for people who only watch the show. But I know it's funny because I was talking to some of my friends, like my roommate, who's read the book, and we were talking about it, and he was talking about, wow, it's almost like the show is starting to be spoilers for book readers now.
Well, I think
certain things that are happening, you're like, okay, well, there are now multiple characters. I'm not gonna say when, but just throughout the seasons who have died who didn't die in the books. So you're like, okay, well, I guess that character's not important.
Let me just say for book readers out there, if you don't want spoilers for the rest of the books, just stop watching the show right now. Like, don't pretend that's not going to happen anymore, because we're at that point.
Yeah, we are at that point. But I mean, I just think it's a good thing to bring up.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of widespread knowledge that they do transfer characters and different tasks to different people, and they try and keep everything kind of going, and they make it entertaining and they make it make sense. But spoilers are going to happen on both ends. And so.
Yep.
So
deal with it.
It's gonna happen.
We're sorry.
Yeah,
we're not sorry. Sorry, not sorry.
Oh! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
So let's move on to another topic and not spoil things. But yeah, anyways, I thought that was an interesting point to bring up, but I don't want to talk too much about it for people when we watch the show. But let's go ahead and move over to Meereen, where we have Daenerys once again acting as queen, seeing various people and all these problems that now her new reign has kind of brought up, and things that she didn't foresee. And the first thing that we get is Finez, I believe is the slave's name, who's talking about how he doesn't have a purpose anymore, and all the mess halls for food for the free slaves, all the old people, which is what he is, get picked on by the young, and he's not able to eat. But now there's just nothing that he lives for. And before he was a teacher, and even though he was a slave, he actually didn't have a bad life. He liked what he was doing. He was teaching kids, and the kids of his master, and he wants this life back. He really dislikes this change, and it's not that he wants her to completely revoke everything, but he wants the option to be a slave again.
Yeah, absolutely. Not all masters are these evil slave drivers that are cracking the whip and making all their slaves eunuchs and doing all these horrible things. Some people just have these slaves. It's so horrible to say, but they're putting him in a good position within their household as a teacher, and they're letting their children love this person and sort of be part of their family, as opposed to just subjugating them completely and utterly.
Yeah, Finez said that he had respect there, but I think he's speaking for a lot of people who, I think we can relate this to prison. You're in prison so long, that's what you know. A lot of people don't want to leave prison after they've been in chains for so long. That's the life they get used to, and change is scary, and trying to integrate into this free world would be scary, especially when you're old. You don't want to.
Exactly.
That's the thing that goes into it.
I think that's a very key point, and he even addressed it in his speech, is that I'm not young enough to create a new life. But I think that's also...
Right, like he compliments her and says the young slaves are really excited about this, but I'm too old.
Yeah, because it would have been harder for him to make steps, but that also doesn't constitute... I'm not sure about this contract thing that she's now incited.
Scary.
Because it is setting that bar of kind of limitation. Like if you enter in these contracts, you're going to hit a ceiling. It might be comfortable, it might be easy, or at first, because you're not transitioning as much, but you're going to hit that ceiling and not be able to move past it.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how many slaves want to do this now that this contract's possible. But it is, at least she had the foresight to think, let's just make it a year instead of for life.
Yeah, that's true. I just don't understand why she can't just be like, well, go talk to him, and if he wants to have you in his house teaching his kids,
he can pay you.
Right?
Yeah, and even if Fenez is doesn't want to take money, he just wants his old life back, he can still get the room and get the food.
Yeah,
he just doesn't have to wear a collar. He can still teach the kids. Like
I just don't.
Look, these slaves aren't that smart.
Yeah, it felt a little weird. It felt a little forced. But I can understand that, there are going to be problems that arise, and freedom can be a scary thing.
I don't want to make choices.
Well, I don't know what you guys like.
Problem number 1, all the slaves want to be slaves.
Yeah.
Problem number 2.
I don't know about you guys, but like after college graduation or something, it was like, oh my God, I'm on my own.
Yeah.
That's a good
like
point.
I have to get a job and I can't go home, and what's going on? Like,
No,
it's a little scary. It's a little scary.
Yeah,
I have a lot of 30-year-old friends who are still living in the nest.
There we go.
Like when I first graduated, I was working at full-time job in a big corporation, and it was comfortable. And then now I'm freelancing, it's scary, but it's like I have a lot more freedom,
Yeah.
but it's very scary because it's completely different.
Yeah.
As opposed to having that cushy comfort. So yeah, it definitely can be.
Game of Thrones is just like real life.
Absolutely, especially the next scene where we find out that we have another man come crying, hardly able to talk, holding this burnt corpse, this dead baby, who turned out that Drogon has somehow gotten out and is killing babies.
Gotten out. I feel like he was just
flying
out in
around, or
general.
just out in
Yeah.
general. But he's missing now too. But yeah, he for some reason has killed a baby.
A 3-year-old.
we didn't see that one coming.
Yeah, I think we predicted that a long time ago
With
that
the
she
sheep.
she was going to lose control over her dragons, and it was really sad that moment when she walks into the catacombs and has to chain up her own children. But I'm just surprised that she actually did it that easily. That only him killing one child, she believed the guy rather than taking the side of her children. I guess that was enough, but it was just like to see the mother chain up her dragons.
Well, she knows it's true.
I guess, but also it's like, I think they're gonna become more monsters by chaining them up. I don't think that anyone has ever become less of a monster by putting them in chains, Tyrion.
I just think that, for me, it was like, I just don't understand how they've not found anyone who knows a little bit about how her ancestors trained their dragons.
Well, maybe they need to watch How to Train Your Dragon 2, which just came out to theaters.
Which looks great. But no, they've talked about how they were these dragons were ridden and fought on and obviously well trained. Mm-hmm. And I don't understand how there's any history of this. Like she just had this random guy, Finesse, who's from the other side of the world, who's like, oh, don't worry, I know about your whole family history. And I'm like, but you haven't found anyone who knows anything about how they actually trained these dragons in the past?
Well,
They died out a long time ago.
and books aren't really all that abundant in this world.
I don't know. That's just my theory.
It seems like the Targaryens had a special link to the dragons, and I mean, did they sit there and write it all down? Like, this is how I did it. It seems.
I'm just surprised that there seems to be no knowledge of them whatsoever. When I feel like so many people have been fascinated by them, and obviously they won wars, you would think that there would be some knowledge base of how to deal with them.
Yeah, the knowledge base was dragons flew overhead and killed everybody, and that was the part we were fascinated in.
There
Was
we go.
not how to train it, just how to be how do you survive and how do you make a peace treaty so we don't get killed again.
How did she realize that she had to cook the meat in order for them to eat it? Did someone show her that? I don't remember. It was a few seasons back, but remember, the dragons almost died, and then either someone told her or it happened by accident that, she realized you had to cook the meat.
I think they started making fire themselves.
Yeah, I think once she's been around them enough to know that they always cook their food before they eat it.
But there was a time when they
they
were
weren't
almost
eating.
Right,
dying,
that's what you're talking about.
and I wasn't sure if someone had taught her or what. But I'm just thinking, if someone did tell her she needs that someone.
I don't know.
Jorah,
I just
where
remember
are
the
you?
last time someone put a chain around these being when she had the Unsullied. It did not end well.
For crassness.
Well, guest 80 on the chat saying, I wonder if they will rebel against her. So having the same pondering as you.
There you go. You know who would probably know a lot about these dragons is Tyrion.
Oh.
Well, he
He
does
reads
read
a lot of books.
Right?
Wasn't he reading the dragon book in the first season?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, was he?
All the
Wow.
books are in King's Landing.
Yeah. So she needs to get there first, and then.
Go to the library.
Yeah.
Check out a few books.
But I think with her
Fix all
locking
your
them up,
problems.
that was to her, she's trying to be a queen. And as sad as it is to her what she has to do, her goal is to be this queen. And as she was walking away, depressed with them, and like the catacomb was closing up, I was thinking like, wow, she's so different now than she was sort of this carefree person in the caravan with Khal Drogo, where just riding on the horses with them and their caravan and sort of sapping up everything. And now this is what she declared she wanted, and it's not really, she's starting to feel the weight of it. And it's not all she might have dreamed it was.
I agree with those thoughts.
Yeah, life is not easy. The crown does not lay softly. What is that term? What is that?
That sounded
The crown
nicely.
lays heavy on the head.
That's a good. That is a term. But life's a little bit easier for Podrick and Brienne in this. Wait, no, it's not.
I was like, what did you watch?
Podrick and Brienne are we're gonna go to next. With Podrick having messed up and lost the horses, they have to travel on foot.
That was a really weird introduction to the two characters because they were kind of behind the hill, and she like wakes up and her hair's all a little messy, and she's like, "Podrick, you sex god, where are you?" Like, it's kind of like a little awkward, but thankfully that did not. That was.
Then we know
a scene like, oh, okay.
You thought.
We got to throw in some comedy in this episode.
Yeah.
With all the madness. So she ends up seeing Arya training in her water dancing, and Arya immediately gripes over at the Hound, stop taking a shit and get up. You choose the worst times.
Their relationship is so great.
Did the Hound and Arya steal their horses?
I think it was just Podrick had lost them. That was all that was.
Okay, because
implied in the
later
poem.
on Arya had a horse.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that was
Yeah, I don't know,
one of
maybe.
the escaped horses, or she killed somebody and took it.
She had money.
She
at
did
that
have money.
point. Yeah. But I thought it was interesting how, like, you could definitely see the spark in her eyes. She was like, oh, you're a lady and you have a sword.
Yeah, they had that
Ask you some
immediate
questions.
bond. Immediately, she didn't even draw her sword. Like, she put her sword down as soon as she realized it was another woman, and there was just that respect immediately, which begs the question why she didn't. I know she doesn't want to be under anybody, but like she could have followed them, gone behind them, but yeah, she wants to be on her own, and I'm glad she's going off on her own.
And also, but I thought it was really interesting because how they really twisted the conversation to make it seem like Bran could be a bad guy. Like,
Yeah.
all of the questions, like this, she's had this whole story happen to her, and because of just these little specific moments, it does make her seem like she's either a traitor or out for this bounty or
Yeah,
something. Like,
Absolutely.
Well, for someone like Arya, it's a really hard story to believe because everything she's seen and that's happened to her has been the Lannisters destroying her family.
Exactly.
And all of a sudden, there's this woman claiming to have worked for her mom, but yet she's working for the Lannisters. And for Arya, that just wouldn't click.
Right.
Yeah.
And for the Hound as well, who's just like,
well, it's also because Bran's so honest.
yeah,
Like, with things she could have easily avoided, she was like, oh, well, where were you? And like, my mom died. She could have been like, oh, I was away on a mission. Like, but
Mission
Bran's
of bringing Jamie back to King's Landing.
Like,
Yeah.
I didn't need to say all that. Like, but she's so honest that her honesty makes her seem like a traitor or seems like a bad guy.
Absolutely. It's she is there. She's out wandering around on the good graces of Lannisters.
It just shows that life
one
is
specific
complicated.
Lannister.
One specific Lannister, but I mean, Tywin Lannister didn't do anything when she came to King's Landing. Nobody arrested her or anything for Renly's possible death
Yeah,
or
well,
whatever.
she kind of came having helped Jamie, so it's just like, okay,
Yeah.
you kind of get a free ride for that one.
Oh, absolutely. But
Yeah.
I mean, by the Lannisters' good graces, she's
Right.
able to leave the city and go off on her own and have a sword and armor and
Really good sword.
really good
Really
sword.
good sword.
So
Valyrian steel.
the Hound finishes.
Yep, and the Hound finishes, and then they start arguing and over what's best for Arya. We get this great moment where the Hound points out just how naive Brienne is, and the fact that there's nowhere for Arya right now. Her family's dead. Her aunt just got killed. Everyone's gone, so there's just nowhere for her.
There is nowhere. I'm trying to think of what safe harbor they have.
I
But
had a very Bravo's. safe harbor.
what's that?
They were gonna all fall in love and be one happy fighting family with Podrick on the side, and they were just gonna be so happy and giants, and I loved it.
Oh, that's not
Make
the
love,
Hound at
not
all.
war.
And they
Yeah,
have a
George R. R. Martin
child.
is laughing at you.
It could have happened. It could have
could've.
been one of those, meet cutes where they're like punching each other, and all of a sudden they're like rolling on the ground, and they're like, "No, wait, you're awesome. I love you." Yay!
Yay. Nope.
This is what's happening in my imagination.
Not gonna happen. But we have this. Oh, go right ahead.
I was just gonna say, this battle, I like hated it the whole time. I was like, no, because I love them both.
But it was a crazy battle.
It was,
though.
was.
it was really well
was-
done.
But before we get to the battle, we have this beautiful moment where the Hound's like, "Oh, are you gonna watch over her?" And Brienne says back to him, he's like, "Is that what you're doing? Are you watching over Arya?" And we have this moment where the Hound just goes, I am."
Yeah.
And it was kind of
He
nice.
actually admits what he.
He
Yeah.
was, because we've had so many episodes where he's like, "You're just walking money to me, just going around." And then it was so nice to just have him say, like, "You know what? I am looking over her."
Yeah, absolutely. That touching moment with him where he's starting to
Yeah.
get attached to her.
Absolutely. But then they fight.
Right, but then they fight. And man, it's actually, as much as I do like both characters, it was cool to see a fight like that where you really don't know. You're like, I can't choose a side because I like them both. I don't want either of them hurt. And that's just, again, this whole great thing with Game of Thrones where there really are complications like that and all this gray matter where neither of them are necessarily bad. It's just
Miscommunication.
shit happens.
This was a brutal fight.
it
Yeah,
was
this was a really brutal fight.
crazy.
Especially after the Hound got bested and decided to grasp the Valyrian steel blade, it got so dirty.
We had that. We had groin kicks
We
and
had
punches
rocks,
we had
and rocks. We had
fighting.
biting ears off. Although I thought his ear was completely burned off. I don't know what she kind of munched
I
off
thought it was
there,
like the
but
back of his neck
Grabbing
when
my
I saw
skin.
it happen real quickly.
yeah.
Whatever means necessary.
All I know is it was vile and also fascinating.
And fascinating.
I was like, wow,
Strange.
this is done really well, but it's really painful to watch. Can't you just be friends?
Oof.
Yeah.
But this is kind of a depowered Hound because he's weakened from his wound, which they mentioned last episode. So all those who are doing an argument and say the Hound would never lose, he was depowered a bit on this one.
Yeah.
Well, it's every major character we've seen Bran fight so far has been depowered in a way. Jaime they were kind of equal, but Jaime only had one hand to fight with at the time.
He was handcuffed.
Right, because he was handcuffed. So, I mean, I guess-
Foreshadowing.
But yeah, so he was handcuffed, so he couldn't really fight fully.
And she also couldn't kill him.
Right.
Like, so they were
Well, yeah.
both. And then in
But it was
this
still
one,
a very
she
almost
just
equal
walked
battle.
20 miles.
Yeah, but I'm saying I'm just saying both of those instances with these brutal characters, they
You
weren't
go
at their
walk
best.
20 miles and fight.
I'll walk 20 miles, okay? You watch me. I'm gonna stand up and walk right now. I'm already 20 miles. I'll be back.
Goodbye. See you in a
Already 20
while.
miles.
And there he goes.
I liked how Brienne sort of gave him that I don't want to kill
Wow.
you, sir, because she very
Okay, I'm back. I'm ready to fight.
very easily could have killed the Hound at that point.
She could have killed him when she had the sword to him before he
Right,
grabbed it.
but she chose not to, and she said, "I don't want to kill you,
Very
sir."
true.
So we already knew that was kind of her saying, like, look, we can end this the nice way, but of course he will not kneel to anyone.
Yeah.
And he has to carry on
He
the
must
fight.
be a wildling.
No.
I thought he was going to be
Because he
fine.
wouldn't kneel. That was the.
I know.
Yeah.
They could have joined forces. They think the same.
I wanted them to travel together. I did.
But then that sounded like a Dr. Seuss moment there. So yeah, he ends up getting kicked off of the ledge.
Was it a kick?
Or I guess kind of just ends up toppling over.
Headbutt kick.
Yeah.
He ends up over.
Some brutal
Rolling.
move in that
And-
fight.
It looked a lot more steep as he was first falling than the second time we saw him falling. 'Cause at
When
first,
the shot changed?
Yeah, when the shot
Yeah.
changed, it
It looks like a drop off at first.
And yeah, it does. I'm like, oh, he did. And then we get the second shot where he's just kind of rolling down the hill. So, like you, Sarah, I hope he's not dead.
I think that we have two Cleganes in very near death situations.
Yes.
Yeah.
And obviously something could happen to both. They might go through some changes. Who knows what changes could happen. We saw some sort of broken leg on the Hound. We've seen like pus. Would that be how you describe the mountain? I don't even know what was on.
He was bit by the viper, I believe.
Yeah, but like, it was like bleh. But they both might go through some changes. And they're both on the brink of death.
So Get Down Doe on the chat correcting me, saying Loras wasn't depowered when Brienne beat him in the tourney match. So just in terms of Brienne's fighting history.
Neither was the bear in the pit, right?
Oh, no. Well,
Yep.
yeah, right, yeah. I was like, wait, wait a second. So, yeah, what the Hound not doing too hot as he has bones sticking out of his knee and begging for mercy from Arya in this really dark moments. And real quick, this was after Arya had hid away from Brienne, who's searching and clearly choosing not to be with Brienne. But yeah, this was really dark.
Rory did such a fantastic job acting in this scene. I got a bit choked up when he started begging for it at the end. I was like, oh my gosh.
I thought they both did. Though, like Arya's stillness.
She was so detached.
She did not wince.
Yeah,
No.
but it was just...
It was creepy.
And with the two together, how they put that scene together where he was, there were like these like cracks and these dark turns, and it was such a well done scene, and it was just like silent.
Yeah, and you get the fact that the Hound, he has such a depressing and sad life. That when he talks about raping Sansa, so he would have one happy memory because he has nothing. There's nothing that's happened in his life that's been happy for him, and I mean that's why he's always been so brutal of everything he talks about. Is just what knights really are. It's just killing machines, and that's always been what he preaches and talks about because that's been his life. It's just been really dark ever since the Mountain pushed his face into a fire.
Yeah.
I think that Arya was the best thing that ever happened to him, and I think that he knows that, and that's why he chose to fight for her until death, perhaps. But I just feel like if this was really his last moment, then we would have seen him shut his eyes. I think you're right, Sarah. I don't know what's going to happen next season, but if we don't see his eyes closed, I don't think he's dead. I think someone could come along.
Yeah,
Is
a
this-
master could totally jump out from behind.
Absolutely.
Is this
It could
becoming
happen.
like a law in Game of Thrones that if they don't die on screen, they're not dead? We've got the Hound right now. Alistair Thorne we talked about earlier. Gregor Clegane, you've all been asking. We saw him. He's not quite dead yet.
Yeah.
It just seems like
Well-
it's becoming this thing where if they don't die on screen, they're not
not
dead.
At least if they're like a
Major character. I agree with
feel
that.
that way. Just because, like, we still have what's his name, Benjen Stark missing.
Yeah.
Like he could pop up anytime, and it's just like because of the laws of like the White Walker coming back to life, because everyone like does use fake names, does use like random circumstances happen all the time in the show. It's hard for me not to like put that like maybe they'll come up in that one instance where you're like, who's this dark shadow coming from? And you're like, oh, it's the Hound, yay!
I'm so glad you said that to me, though, because I really thought he was done. And then you said, wait, I don't think he's dead. And then I thought about it, and I was like, yeah, you're right. Like, we would have seen him close his eyes or something. Like, the way she walked away, I think that she's hoping that he'll heal, too. Although, I liked that part where he was like, come on, I'm just another name on your list. You promised me you'd kill me. I loved that part. Because it was true. Like, she had been promising him all that time that she was going to kill him. And she very well may, but it's not right now.
She
But
did
it's-
not give him the gift of death.
Yeah, like in the end, she wouldn't even give him mercy, and just ended up
She watched
taking his
him.
money, and then just walked away after taking his money.
And watched him suffer for
Right.
a little bit.
Do you think that was her way of punishing him more, or do you think that was her way of saying, you know what, you helped me out here, I'm not going to kill you? What was it? Was it a nice thing on her side, or was it a bad thing on her side?
I felt like
Mean or nice?
whenever she came to sit with him, I felt like good about it. I felt like she was coming to be with him in his dying moments because they had become this bond had formed, and they had become friends now. So I felt like when she first got there, it was like she was paying her respects and like staying there
Yeah.
with him. And then after everything he said, I think maybe she changed her mind. Maybe she would have given him mercy before, but I don't know. I think her walking away, she also kind of has hope that he'll be
I mean,
all
when
right.
she knelt
don't
down,
know.
she just took his money. That was
Yeah.
She took his money, she walked away, but
But that was after everything that they had said to each other.
Exactly. I don't know. She just walked through that valley and there's a shadow, and I still felt like it was saying the valley of the shadow of death.
I like that.
And just going, but I don't know how I feel.
Yeah,
I don't know if she killed Madame Baratheon, because the only thing was she almost offered to give him water. That was her one act of movement in his speech. Of course, it was before he said he wanted to rape her sister.
And he brought up Micah. Let's not forget Micah, because that was the first reason that she hated the Hound.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the reason, I think.
Yeah, the reason in the first season.
So it's like she knows the Hound so much better than she knew Micah.
Now.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, she barely knew Micah. But we should probably move on to after this scene where we get Arya finding a dock and begging to go north and possibly to the wall somewhere, maybe that's where she would go.
That's got to be what she's thinking.
Right, because Jon could be alive. I mean, she doesn't know, but that's one family tie that she knows he'd be at the wall. But the captain is refusing to take her there. They're going to Bravos. Sorry, you're crazy.
Yep.
You don't want to go where everyone's dying.
What luck.
And she flashes back to Jaqen, giving her the token, the coin. Yes, thank you.
And
the iron.
Yeah, and then saying if you ever find somebody who goes to Bravos, give them this coin and say Baelor Morghulis.
Baelor de Harris.
Is
Thank you,
his
sir.
name.
Let's go to Bravos.
Let's go.
Okay.
I wonder, what does this coin mean? I know, obviously, we've gotten in the intro, every week that, the coin goes down the track at Bravos, and we've always known this is going on. But I just want to know, does her specific coin mean something, or do, all coins just mean, safe passage to Bravos? Is there something even more special about the coin that she gave him? I'm confused.
I don't know. It's different because it's not a silver coin. It's an iron coin, which is pretty worthless. In that world, so it's not like it's the monetary value is not
right
is
away.
not high.
Well, I mean, when you look at it, it's kind of messed up in a way. There's something different about she has
the
shape
face
in a way.
is all messed
Right.
up, so it could be any face.
So, yeah.
7 faces, perhaps.
What was it, the men of 1,000 faces or something like that?
The 1,000 eyes and one was the three.
Yeah.
But there's another line that he when she's parting from when she gets the coin, where he's I am a man of, I think it was 1,000 faces or some number. I don't know.
How many does she have left for him to kill?
I think that was all 3 were taken care of at that moment. I think that was they wrapped up with all 3. Yeah.
Okay.
So regardless, though, she ends up getting safe harbor.
Wait, do you mean for him to kill for her?
Wait, who? What? Yeah. What
Remember,
She's
Jock and Hagar.
She sacrificed her last kill because she named him. And then she was like, fine, I will unname you if you get me and my friends out of here.
Yeah.
So she gave up her last kill, I think.
Did she give it up, or does she still have one more?
I think that's it. I'm pretty sure.
We'll see.
But regardless, this coin has a lot of meaning to the Bravasi, and we'll see what happens with their storyline. So let's go ahead and move forth.
She's a pirate now.
Great ending, by the way.
Yeah, that was a great ending.
That was a cool ending.
With
It's
her and the Game of
maiden
Thrones theme
ship.
song. That was a good remix of the theme song too. I like that one.
It was nice.
So let's go ahead and move over to King's Landing, the Father's Day edition of King's Landing, where we start with the Mountain, has manticore venom in him, which would seem to be from the Viper.
The Viper.
Yeah, and he is dying, and we've got Maester Pycelle, Cersei, and Qyburn. Qyburn, who I believe in the show they show him having been with Jaime in the show.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Okay.
He did that, and then he came down to King's Landing.
Yeah, so he came with
him.
Jaime and helped Jaime, but he's not a true Maester. So Maester Pycelle doesn't really trust his methods.
Yeah, Qyburn was kicked out of the Citadel where the Maesters train for
using dead people or basically killing people to see what happened to them.
for weird
He's
shit.
a scientist at heart.
Yeah.
And I think he's making his own Lannister Frankenstein as we speak.
He'll come a little
Gregor-stein.
bit different. Yeah, so he's doing something to the Mountain, and we're not sure if it's just this weird indication if he's going to come out but different. And
But
when
not
Pycelle
weaker.
thinks that,
Yeah, but what does that mean?
What does that mean?
not bigger, unfortunately.
Not bigger. Yeah.
He's going to be changed.
Changed man.
I'm so
After you
confused.
drain him of all of his blood, as he's
don't know.
doing in that end scene there.
Yeah. Just
Yeah.
another question mark.
Yeah.
And gaining Cersei's trust.
But after this, true. And then after, Cersei sides with Qyburn here. And after siding with Qyburn, she then goes immediately to speak with Tywin and trying to assert herself and refusing to marry Loras and threatening him by saying that it was incest for Tom and just telling everyone.
I thought she was gonna pull out like, we're poor. I'm gonna tell everyone we're poor.
That's what you thought?
Yeah.
Nope, your legacy is a lie.
That's crazy. Now, I always thought Tywin knew.
I did too.
Do you think he did know and he just... It was just one of those denial. Yes, exactly. It had to be.
I really thought he always knew, and he was just doing what he could to make it not obvious. Like, I thought, like, he's smart. I thought he had to know.
Exactly. And I think they gave Tywin lines earlier in the season or, like, previous seasons where he sort of mentioned something about it. Like, he said to...
He's like,
I think he says...
rumors.
He says to Cersei, he's like, you're going to marry Loras and have... Oh, no, maybe it might have been Jaime. It might have been Jaime, where he's like, you're going to marry a wife and you're going to have a legitimate child or something like that. He said you're going to have an actual child.
It's a very clear indication that he knows.
Yes. And then all of a sudden they change it around, and so.
But it's sort of like the lies we tell ourselves. Like, you can make yourself believe something when you want to.
I am a professional football player.
Okay. Moving on to reality. They did pull that rug out from under us, because before they made it very clear that maybe he did know, and then in this moment they had Cersei give that, like, I'm a lawyer and I'm like giving you the truth right now, sort of like persuading him to believe that yes, it is indeed incest. So I don't know. I don't know why they did that, because they wanted it did look like they were trying to get us to think that he didn't know or he didn't believe it or whatever.
Yeah.
Bad day for Tywin here.
Absolutely.
But she also admits that she was going to give Tom the essence of Nightshade. She openly admits that.
Yeah, that was kind of creepy. But we see her, I don't know, I'm afraid to say I liked Cersei in this moment, but I liked that she kind of stepped up and she's like, you know what, Dad? I'm sick of these stories where you win. This isn't going to be one of those moments. I'm a grown-up now, and I'm going to win a battle.
A lot of people had those discussions with him today.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I don't like how she did it. She's like, oh, I'm going to, make you feel bad about your daughter and your son having sex. But the fact that she was like, you know what? I can win a battle. I can do this.
Yeah.
I choose love.
There you go.
She decided not to go with the fact of asserting that she's the queen regent and instead asserting that she'll just tell everyone about the incest. Okay. So Cersei goes on to meet with Jaime, following Cersei around at the beginning, and Jaime's pissed off about Tyrion, and she doesn't even really address it. She just starts making out with him.
He's not my brother. I choose you, Pikachu.
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking of the whole damn time.
My only note for this time was sexy time, was the only thing I wrote. I was just kind of shocked, though. I was very shocked that this is how her character turned, because I felt like there was a huge jump between where we saw her mentally last and this episode.
I'm not sure if this is like a greater turn into madness, or because it seemed like a very almost like, okay, now I figured out my life. I just have to choose this love. And I was like, you were going crazy and you were a drunk. When did you have this moment of clarity?
I think when she won the victory over her brother, over Tyrion. He's dead. She won. She's like, yes.
That moment kind of empowered her.
And
absolutely.
Now she's like she feels like she just got a victory over her father.
Yep.
And she's also a crazy drunk, but that's okay. So
but
Jaime
also
tosses aside all of his
But
hopes
the love for
book,
Jaime.
for his love of her. Goodbye, book. Goodbye, blank pages. Hello, sister.
Did you guys kind of feel like her love for him had been lost somewhat this season, and then like suddenly she just like jumped on him?
Oh, absolutely.
So it's like I just felt like that was sort of a huge jump for me to see her character go this far this episode.
It's like after a couple battles, she just won some battles, her blood's boiling, she needs to settle down.
Like, I can totally see the conversation with Tywin. I can see that, her finally feeling like she needed to have that conversation. But jumping Jaime, that seemed out of nowhere.
Everything that we've seen this season, I agree that it was a jump. I do think it was a jump from the previous episodes we've seen. But on an aside, Get Down Doe saying on the chat, Tywin had to talk with Queen of Thorns, hinting that he knew about the incest. So there were multiple conversations there. So yeah, some weird jumps around here. But we get some awesome moments right after this where we have Tyrion in the dungeon and Jaime, even after the scene where him and Cersei are together, he still goes and frees Tyrion.
Which had me so scared.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I was in a panic for this entire scene. You don't understand. I literally thought Cersei was going to jump out and kill
Me
him. And that was like his
too.
gift to her.
Ah.
Like,
Me
he'd be
too.
like, and you get to kill your brother.
I thought
like,
so too.
Absolutely like, oh my gosh, Cersei's going to kill him. Cersei's going to kill him. I was
Yeah.
literally shaking.
Because whenever anything good starts to happen to a
Game of
character, you
Thrones.
know they're in trouble.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And, I think it's safe to say at this point, definitely, that earlier in this season, Tyrion had told Jaime that he didn't do it, that he didn't kill Joffrey. And that's a huge change in the book. In this moment during the escape, Tyrion tells Jaime the opposite, that he did kill Joffrey.
In
And
the
he-
book?
Yeah, and he lies to Jaime, saying that he, in a moment of frustration. But I think it's like...
Yeah,
it's just
I don't want to get into the book discussion, but
I just think it's a major difference. I think it's worth noting.
Okay.
And I don't think it's going to come up at all. So I guess people are going to hate on me again. But I just don't think it's like this is something that's so established. I don't think it's ever going to change in the show. So I just thought it was worth bringing up.
Yeah.
So regardless, Tyrion now set free, thanking Jaime for his life, and just this really brotherly love moment and bonding moment.
And goodbye moment.
Absolutely, and there's actually a kiss. He kisses him, and I was like, "Whoa, this is like wow!" Like, I don't know if I've seen a man kiss another man on a cheek in this entire show.
Yeah.
and it's kind of like, oh my god, it's really brotherly love. It was nice. It was a nice little moment.
Yeah, and we also find out that Varys now is helping Tyrion escape. And if you remember, Varys actually spoke against Tyrion during the trial, so now he's helping Tyrion.
Well, yeah, there was that moment where Tyrion says, "Oh, you swore that you'd help me do something," and then while all the eyes are on Varys, he can't help Tyrion, so he gives the testimony, hurting Tyrion and everything. But as he's walking away, there's sort of that moment where he kind of gives him a look. He's like, "I know how I'm going to help you, but this isn't it.
Yeah.
It's going to be in the last episode of the season."
Tyrion even asks him as he's leaving, "Can I ask you one question? Like, you thought I was going to save everyone." And I can't remember Varys's reply, but it was very, like, not taking a side. Do you
Yeah.
guys remember that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It was a very not right now.
Yes.
Type of
That was
answer.
his answer.
Yep.
So I think one of either Kristen or Sarah, I think one of you guys predicted that you thought, or just thought, you were like, I thought Tyrion was going to end up escaping the dungeon somehow in one of the episodes, and now it's happening. So Tyrion escaping the dungeon, and he ends up deciding to sidetrack. Take a little side track to
Wow.
the Hand's tower, the Tower of the Hand, and you indicated by you see the hand on the cloak,
Yeah.
And you
the pin.
revisit the lion ironwork that they had a frame of earlier in the episode.
Yeah.
With Tywin's conversation with Cersei.
Absolutely.
So they use that same like framing again.
Right. And turns out Shay is there in bed and clearly has been sleeping with Tywin, who is so against Tyrion's whoring, so against everything. And now Shay, who was the one person Tyrion loved, again, this betrayal by sleeping with the one person, his
And
father.
calling him my lion.
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't understand Shay in this moment. What does she want? Is she clearly a whore who wanted, like, riches? Or is that what we're supposed to think of her? Because when she was protecting Sansa and she was side by side with Tyrion, I believe that she loved him. And in this moment, I was completely confused by her character. I thought when she was in the courtroom, I thought she was just getting back at Tyrion for sending her away. And I thought that she really loved him. But
Yeah.
in this moment, I have no idea.
I can't explain it. Like literally, I think that it was almost like, oh, I got the first half of these scripts, and now I have to completely change my character for the second half of these scripts because this is not what I was thinking. Because I did believe her. I did believe their love, and I felt like that was her choice, and that's what they were directing her to. And then it was all just stripped away, and I
Yeah.
don't get it.
And this is something I talked about when the previous episode, where her character is very different in the books, and this is the scene pretty much exactly almost as it happens in the book, and like everything that she does in this moment happens, but the whole love thing with Tyrion, it's not really there in the book, so it really is pretty indicated that she's a lying whore. That really is what seems to be indicated in the books. Whereas here in the show, we really had that whole thing of like
loved him.
she seemed to love him. So yeah, it's a weird twist for the show end.
Like
Of
she
her character.
rejected money. Like this whole thing is about money, and now like, she rejected money
Well,
from Varys.
well, I mean, my only argument, I'm trying to play devil's advocate because I'm kind of with you guys on this. It doesn't make too much sense, but I can see like, okay, she loved him, it didn't work out. She doesn't have that love anymore.
she's
It's
moved on to
gone.
a new
So
hand.
she's back to her old job. She's like, oh my God, the richest man in the Seven Kingdoms, as far as anyone knows, is like, wants to sleep with me. I'm a whore. All right, let's do this. Like, that's the only thing I can come up with. I know that's a bit far-fetched,
No.
but
No, I mean, I think that is the explanation. That's the only explanation,
Well, I
really.
would have been fine with that if she didn't say my line again. That was where it was like, okay, you're just a whore and none of this was real, and I think that Tyrion felt that way too.
Yeah,
but
she's good at her job.
We kind of get the whole like love is worth killing for, or you'll kill the one you love, with the whole like Ygritte and Jon, and now with the whole Tyrion and Shay. So it's sort of like a weird message here.
Yeah. I mean, I think for Tyrion specifically, it was just this huge moment of betrayal where it was the girl that he loved. And first it was the one hit that he had to take of her standing against him. That was the hardest moment, and great acting by Peter Dinklage in that episode. But now in this episode, then the one person who's always hated him his entire life. And it's like after a relationship or a breakup, there's always like the one person where you're like, I just don't want my girlfriend to sleep with that one person, and this is that person for him. It's Tywin. It's his father. This is that one person.
I don't want any of my
That's
ex-girlfriends
hilarious.
to sleep with my dad, please.
But I mean,
That's so
but I mean, like, especially for Tyrion though, like Tywin's that one person. So it's even that further knife in the gut
Right.
and that wrench. So yeah, just that really brutal moment where he ends up strangling her, and yeah, it's just.
Did he feel like he needed to? Because otherwise she would kill him.
She reached for the knife first.
Yeah, absolutely.
She
So
made the
he
first
had to.
lunge.
Yeah, certainly. He knew that she was going to kill him. Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. There's no doubt about that.
Did she deserve it?
And he did try to save her too, even though it was like this breaking of trust to her and love. It was like, and especially with the words he said, he did try, and he was trying to do the right thing.
Does he choke her with the gold necklace around her
Yeah.
neck? I mean, that's
Yeah.
just kind of like, that's how someone like
She's
that
a
should go. Yeah, if
And-
you're a gold digger, be strangled by what you're,
poetic
been reaching
justice.
for.
Well, was
Yeah.
that the necklace that
It wasn't
Tyrion
the lion necklace.
gave her earlier? No.
Oh.
Tyrion gave her a necklace. I don't know if it was early this season or late last season, but he gave her a necklace.
The necklace that I'm remembering is the lion necklace that he gave to the redhead. That's the necklace that I'm
Roz.
remembering. Yeah. Do you remember the lion one? And that's why Cersei thought that she was his
Yeah.
whore, because is that necklace? I don't remember this necklace, but I could be wrong.
I think he did give her one though,
He did.
but
He
that's
certainly did.
even if he
certainly
strangled her, gave her the weapon she'd die by. That's even more poetic justice.
So Get Down Doe on the chat asking, without spoilers, anyone think Shay was with Tywin the entire time, and Bronn took her from Tywin in the camp in the earlier seasons? And
That crosses my mind a
yeah.
lot, but I think it's a bit far-fetched.
yeah, because I think she
But it
wouldn't
crosses
have
my
left
mind.
with Tyrion from the camp had that been the case.
Right,
I
and her
think-
her storyline's sort of done now, and I feel
Right.
like it would be too late at this point for us to get that secret.
Yeah,
So,
especially
no.
the other person end of that storyline is also done, as we get to
Oh.
Tyrion now picking a crossbow off of the wall, and
I was
And
immediate like,
A
who is that
crossbow.
for?
The
Yeah.
crossbow.
I was like, who is that arrow for?
Who did
and
you
he
think
opens
wa-
the latrine.
Who did you think was behind door number 1?
I was like,
Or door number 2, I guess I
Oh.
should say.
hey, who's got the puns this episode? Don't steal my reputation.
Were you thinking possibly Cersei?
I was
Well, no,
thinking
I'm curious what
possibly
you
Cersei.
thought. 'Cause-
100% Tywin.
yeah.
I was
100%.
thinking possibly Cersei, but after he had just left Shays, I was like, probably Tywin. But
Tywin.
I just couldn't imagine it at that point that he would kill his father. And then I stared imagining it because it was happening.
I thought so because, especially when they revealed him, I felt like because I've always enjoyed Tywin as a character because he's
Me
always
too.
portrayed as so like strong and cunning and for his family, and then to me they just slowly stripped that away from him this episode, and it started with Cersei. It started with him. She like ripped away like his whole conception of family,
Right.
like with the lines
Yeah.
of like, oh, you talk so much about your family, but you're more or less a liar and stupid. Like she ripped away his family, she ripped away his cunning, she ripped away a lot of things I respected him for, and then it went to Shay, and I was like, oh, you're a hypocrite. Like one of the things you've shunned your son for, you do yourself.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Sleeping
Yeah,
with Loras,
absolutely.
And then he's like on the toilet. And I was like, you've broken this man down. I was like, okay,
That makes
I understand
sense.
why you're gonna let him go.
That's a good point that he's killed on a toilet though, because he's been broken down at that point.
That's like the most like shameful place.
Well, it's so degrading
Right.
because he rules the Seven Kingdoms pretty much. He's the power behind
he's been
everything,
the
and for
foundation.
the most powerful man in the Seven Kingdoms to just be shot to death on the toilet, it's just so degrading, and so humiliating.
yeah, absolutely.
Well, it's like, what do you, after everything that happened in this episode, like, what do you respect him for? Like, there's nothing you respect him for anymore.
Well, that was yes, but in the court of public opinion, I mean, everybody sees him as this golden figure. I mean, except his enemies, but even they respect him
Right.
because he's this great general. And now the word's gonna get out.
I mean,
It's
he
just broke him down, like you
yeah,
said.
he was basically the foundation for this family's existence that this house was sitting on, and now that he's gone, they are just going to be so weakened and not even an opponent to
Maybe
any
they'll
enemy.
actually be happy, though.
yeah,
What
well,
was
Maybe if they
Cersei
go to
running the
Dorne.
family?
but
Yeah.
he really
Yeah.
is the pillar of strength of the family. He's the one who brought them up from when, I mean, like his whole story is that their family used to be laughed at because of Tywin's father, and he stopped that, and he was the one who brought them up and made them a respectable family. And
Exactly, Reigns of
then,
Castamere.
yeah, the Reigns of Castamere, which starts playing as he dies. That's the song in the background.
Nice.
I
Didn't
wonder if
catch
they'll
it.
ever
Yeah.
play it again.
That's what I was thinking.
That's not good. Like, they've played it so much this season.
Well, Lannisters are starting to die off, so you never know.
I think they're all going to have to take some new names.
Lannister.
Oh,
Not for long. I'm kidding. Pen to the neck. Pen to the jugular.
So Tywin ends up in this scene dying, and I do think that's a great point, though. It's just like the other thing with Tyrion that you're saying is that really his storyline with Tyrion was that he kept on shaming Tyrion with the whore thing. Like, that was Tyrion's first wife, and what he made Tyrion go through by having his wife seem like this whore and just like giving her like a soldier, and every soldier would be another gold coin, something to that extent, and just like really publicly ridiculing Tyrion for sleeping with whores and constant with that, and that's what he ended up dying for in the end, and what pissed off Tyrion. But after this, Tyrion,
Also, I just thought it was very interesting the writing style of this scene. Like, for me, just the word they tossed around, like, you are my son, I'm your son. Like, each of them said son like 3 times. And I feel like we've never really gotten that from their characters. Like, it's always avoided. Like, I think the one time it sounds out to me is when Tywin was saying, you are not my son.
Right.
Yeah.
And like, they had this total like poetic switch around at the end. And it was just used as such, it was used as a weapon itself in that conversation. And I thought it was really powerful and like very poignant.
Question for you guys. Tywin said, do you really think I'd let my son be hanged and all that
I
stuff?
was
Do
thinking the same
you
thing.
guys think that they would have had a talk in the chamber? Do you think that Tyrion was actually going to be executed, or do you think he wasn't going to let that happen?
Was he just trying to save his own skin by saying that?
Yeah.
I was curious. No, I was curious too. I was going to ask that myself.
I think it's a great question. I honestly don't know with this character.
I think that it's a combination. I think that if we hadn't seen the conversation with Cersei, where he lost basically 2 of his heirs, like, maybe he was considering saving him because he was the only one left, if Cersei told.
True, but during that...
But then I'm like, in general, I do feel like he kind of went back on his word on everything in order. It was like, I wouldn't actually kill you, which earlier in the day you just said you would.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're like, then he goes down the path of like, you are my son, and all these other random things that I'm like, well, I think you are just saving your ass.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that he was going to execute him. I think that in one point he did say, yes, it's true, I always wanted you dead or whatever. And that was the point where I actually believed what he was saying.
Yeah.
So I think he was going to execute him.
So the point I got out of this is lock your bathroom doors. That's what I got out of it.
Always do.
But after this scene, Varys knows what happened, and he's like, "Oh, we got to get out of here now." And,
Well, he doesn't know quite what happened
No.
yet.
well, yeah, I mean, he kind of seems like something's off.
He's like,
'cause
"What
Tyrion
did
went
you
away."
do?
Right.
He saw the blood and
Blood
everything.
I mean, he knows something's off.
Exactly. He knows something off because he doesn't find out until the bells toll later on.
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't even at that point really know.
Right.
what was
Right.
like what happened.
But then he realizes he better ship himself away. So
Yes.
both
Yeah.
Tyrion and Varys are shipping away, escaping from King's Landing in this.
Well, I think that harkens back to, when
The sorcerer in the crate.
they toll the bells. Yes, exactly. I was thinking that too. But they toll the bells when there's a certain bell tolling for certain deaths. So when the
Right.
hand of the king dies, it's like toll the bell this way or whatnot. So I believe he did know that Tywin was dead. And like you were saying earlier, that Tywin is the pillar right there. Varys goes, the pillar just fell. This place is.
Yeah.
He's like, I ain't staying there. Like that place is just gonna fall apart. They're gonna eat themselves.
I feel like they just shipped off the brains. Like
Yep.
as that boat left, I was like, and there goes the
Yeah.
brains.
So like, there's what was keeping this place together.
So
Yep.
where are they going? We know that Varys is originally from Bravos and Arya is going there. So is it safe to say that maybe they're going to cross paths? Sarah says yes.
yeah,
Interesting, but we
everyone's going that way.
nice. Yeah, I think that might be true. But Varys has a friend over there, right? That he was earlier in the seasons, like the dude he was sneaking around in the basements with, and whatnot.
Oh, yes.
Illyrio.
And he's also has all
where's
his spies
Illyrio
who's like
from?
gotten him.
Yeah.
Doesn't he know a couple people in Atlantis as well? I feel like I'm wrong. Never mind. I take it back.
There we go.
He has a lot of spies. He could have friends everywhere.
Yeah, he is friends.
He's gonna
everywhere.
cover it with that.
Yeah.
Man of many friends. That's all you need in this world. Many friends.
Or
you
many
go.
faces.
Many friends.
Many faces or 1,000 eyes
thou-
and one.
Or
Oh.
one.
Basically,
A thousand
the
faces
numbers
and 1,000
game.
eyes.
Or one friend with 1,000 faces.
Or one friend with 1,000 eyes.
That works too.
It's just a numbers game.
So with that, these four hosts wrap up this
Wait, predictions.
season and talk about predictions. and talk about predictions.
Now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Stannis is coming.
The red woman loves Jon.
Yes.
Maybe in a bad way.
I honestly think that Stannis is going to take over King's Landing because who is left to do it right now?
I feel like we're just not going to see King's Landing for a while. Except for the, Tyrells, who I'm like, oh, where were you? Like,
That's a good point.
but, do I really want to go see Cersei's happy family and her madness? Like, what power do they have at the moment?
Right. I mean, Stannis is.
They have no money.
Yeah.
They are now going to be like this ridiculed family of lovers.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, what's Cersei? Cersei's going to take control,
Mm-hmm.
and
That's not going to work.
chaos is
It's the
gonna
new
ensue from that.
Winterfell. Like, we know Winterfell's there. We know that maybe they'll go back, but we don't focus on it.
I
It's
just feel like
mentioned in
as
passing.
soon as everyone finds out that of Tywin's death, they'll know that King's Landing is like free for the taking, and I feel like that's going to be, where everyone's headed.
Although it's worth noting that Tywin is just the hand. I mean,
Yeah.
Cersei's the queen regent. And
Absolutely.
But he was
Thomas will be raised to
also
be the king.
he was also the puppet master.
No, he was. He was the puppet master.
Yeah. But we got the Tyrells there too, and they're not a force
Yeah.
to be taken lightly.
That's true. I feel like it's very easy for them to take over now, considering Marjorie is trying to be with Tommen or whatever, and they're gonna need the money, so that marriage is probably gonna happen. But they don't really have an army anymore, do they? Will they? They won't have a commander, so I feel like Stannis is definitely going to be an enemy to be reckoned with.
And we have the Ironborn.
Yeah, there's the Ironborn is still running amok.
Yep.
Okay.
And we got Ramsay Snow still wrecking havoc.
Yara running
Where-
around.
And
Or
we've got
now,
the
sorry,
Maipa.
Ramsay Bolton.
And we've
Ramsay
got
Bolton,
everyone in Dorne.
Where's Gendry?
Yeah, I don't know. We really haven't seen
He
him
just
at
took
all.
the boat off.
Oh,
And he's,
Gendry can now be reaching King's Landing.
But okay, I have a question. Is Stannis the rightful king, or would Gendry be? Because Gendry was his son.
but Gendry wasn't of noble birth. He has
But
the
he's-
king's blood, but his mom was just some
So he
whore
can't be
from.
king.
So he has nothing?
I mean, he wasn't.
Wait,
he wasn't.
now
le-
you're gonna get shot with the crossbow bolt.
well,
for
he
saying that.
could be if he was legitimized, like Ramsay Snow was legitimized to Ramsay Bolton. So now he's able to inherit the Dreadfort from Roose Bolton. If Gendry had been legitimized, but his father is now dead, so I don't know. It would take a king, I think, to legitimize. Can a king?
Or
that's-
he can just take over the throne by brute force, like his
could.
father did.
He's got that hammer.
And then people will be like, "Oh wait, and you're his son on top of it." Here you go.
So
good
is
to go.
Stannis the younger brother of Robert?
No,
Well,
he was
he's
the
an older
older
brother.
brother, and Renly was the younger
Yeah.
brother, but Robert was the one who took over by force.
Yeah.
With a
Yeah,
hammer.
Stannis is the older brother.
Wait, Stannis is older than Robert?
I thought so.
I believe so.
That just doesn't make sense.
Well,
why
regardless,
he
he's
would've
at
been.
least he's older than Renly.
No, because
He's older than Renly.
Right, all
yes.
that really matters is he's older than Renly.
Yes.
That's what actually matters.
And he's the only surviving brother there.
Okay,
Maybe
so
I'm-
Lannisters will fall, and Daenerys has chained her dragon, so she's in a bad spot, and she's got no Jorah. I feel like yeah, Jorah could be Jorah could be like he could find Gendry and it'd be like the Brienne Podrick combo.
maybe he can train the dragons.
So we have Ryan Whittleson on the chat saying, I'd be fleeing King's Landing too as soon as those bells sounded.
What if Jorah comes flying in on Drogo, the
Oh.
black dragon?
Drogon.
Jorah's like, I figured out how to tame a dragon.
What if Bran takes over the mind of Drogon?
I'm fine with
That'd be
that.
a way to fly.
I'm excited for Arya to get to Bravos, and
It's a really good plan.
I hope that Arya runs into Jaqen and Hagar again because I miss him in the Band of Misfits.
Yeah.
I miss
I'm
all
excited
those
to see where her
guys.
storyline
I don't
ends
even
up.
know where the Band of
Oh,
Misfits
the Brotherhood
ended.
Without Banners?
Yeah, where did
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I don't know where they all
That's a good question.
They can take
Yeah.
over King's Landing.
went. Yes.
Yeah,
I'm
we didn't
coming
really
up with
see
really
any-
great theories. I
Yeah,
can
we
tell
actually-
by the way you laugh
Everything's
at me.
like, they're going to take over King's Landing. They're going to take over King's Landing. But yeah, we didn't see the Brotherhood Without Banners really either in the end here. But yeah.
We've got a long list of missing people. Like,
Yeah.
And the Hound, I think we're both predicting he's still alive. Yeah. And the Mountain will be Frankenstein. Will be known as
No, I think it's
Frankenstein.
Gregor Stein.
Gregor Stein. That's
Stein
good.
Is what it
yeah.
is.
I think that's about it.
So this was a hectic, crazy episode, though. So many things happened from every storyline that was just constant chaos. And I really think that this was, to me, this was a more exciting episode than episode 9.
I agree.
This season.
This episode was fantastic. I
Yeah.
must say that, like, I said this to you guys right before we started. Like, I leave so many of finales being like, no, why? It was a really good
Yeah.
episode, and I feel happy.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
at
Like,
peace.
it's amazing.
Because the good
Who
guys
knows
didn't
you
really
could
die.
feel like this?
Yeah.
I mean, a bunch of people died, but they weren't really good guys.
Right.
So
Yeah.
But it wasn't like the wiping out of the
yeah,
Starks.
even the Hound, who a lot of us like, not really a good guy.
Nah.
Yeah.
I don't know,
Yeah.
but I'm like, yay, good episode, and I'm happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird. Episode 9 and this one, they're kind of like one episode. You can't really watch one without the other. They're not standalone episodes. It's as if they were both the finale.
That's a very,
Yeah.
it's an epic 2-season arc in these episodes. And also a lot of CG use in this episode, too, with the skeletons and
the tree.
the tree. The dire wolf is back. We have Summer attacking. So
you
yeah,
go.
lots of effects in this one as well. But guys, that wraps up this season of Game of Thrones, and what an incredible one it was. I was really looking forward to this season all year, and now we have to wait for more.
It's okay. That means we have time to
That's all right.
rewatch and then rewatch again.
Yeah. The wait is nothing on the book reader's wait.
But there's so many things that I was like, after the Red Wedding, I was like,
I
guys,
gotta catch
guys,
up with the book.
like after the Red Wedding last year, I was just like, as a book person, I was like, please just stick with the show. You got Joffrey, you got Tywin, please.
Yeah.
But guys, once again, I'm Dave Klein. You can find me on Twitter at @TheDaveKlein. That is Klein.
Hi guys, I'm Sara Stretton. You can find me here on other AfterBuzz TV shows and also on Anatomy of a Movie.
I'm Kristen Snyder. You can follow me at Cinematic Escape on Twitter. You can check out my blog, Cinematic Escape.
And I'm Kyle Maddock. You can find me at Mad Canard, like the duck.
Yes.
Or at a podcast of Ice and Fire.
And we will see you guys next year. Later.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.